Hey there, Cheesemeisters, and welcome back to the Peach Pod After Dark. I am Jeff, and those men wanted to have sex with me. I took yours.
Oh my God. Okay, well, luckily, luckily I had one written. you, you are so delighted. You are giddy. My
A little
goodness.
bit. And joining me on the other end of the internet is my cuz-host.
I'm Leslie, and I have legs. I can see. Jesus.
It's important to thank the maker when good things happen. All right, so that was an interesting way to start.
Yeah.
I did the little Snoopy dance. Doo-doo,
Oh. Do,
doo-doo,
do, do,
doo-doo.
do, 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 do.
So this week we are doing Trading Places, the 1983 full-on assault on capitalism comedy masterpiece, directed by John Landis, starring Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd, Ralph Bellamy, Don Amici, Denholm Elliott, who is, did you know, Selsden Darling from Noises Off.
Maybe that's why he looked familiar.
He's also Brody in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, okay.
Marcus Brody. Yeah. Um, and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
So this we are watching in conjunction with season 3, episode 31, Wrong. Season 3, episode 1, Misery Loves Company. And our spelling connection this week is both of the Duke brothers. Ralph Bellamy was in an episode of Hotel, and Don Amici was in an episode of Love Boat. But that ain't nothing compared to who played the police officer, one James Eckhouse. That was a fun surprise. About 45 minutes into the movie.
With his hair.
I know. Yeah,
He looks so cute. I was like, I see what you mean, Jenny Garth.
he had a bunch of like small roles in comedies. Like he's in Big. Like he's just
wow.
yeah, he's just like little roles in all these. Yeah, so this is a James. This is like what do they call it? A James Eckhouse joint.
Yep.
So
They
yeah, that was a fun surprise. I didn't know he was in this.
I know. As I was watching it, I told Walter to look up. I said, "Is that Juan Carlo in this? Look him up. Look him up." And
that's right.
As he was doing that, James Eckhouse made his cameo, and I squealed. And Walter was like, "What?" And I went, "It's Jim."
Yep. That's cool. Yeah, and I missed Gus Fring being there. I think I was looking down. So when you mentioned it, I was like, he was a what now?
It was crazy because he just, that youthfulness right before your face changes to adult.
Right, yeah.
That's
I think that might have been his first thing. It was real early for him, I think. So
good for him.
So there you go. Young Gus Fring. All right, so this is a movie you had not seen before?
Correct.
I'd seen it.
Thanksgiving film.
There you go. I think I'd seen it once, maybe. Okay. It was a movie I'd heard about. I mean, you can't grow up in the 80s and not hear about a Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy movie.
That's true.
I would assume. That was a big draw. But it was rated R, and I was 7. So.
Damn it.
Yeah, there wasn't much chance of me seeing this one. But at some point, college, whatever,
Yeah.
You plunk it down and you watch it. So what'd you think? I mean, other than the rage, what did you think?
Yeah, other than the rage at rich people, I liked it. There were some confusing moments in the end because I have a mental block, as we all know, when it comes to math, and business equals math. But for the most part, I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good film.
It's fun. It's not my favorite of the '80s, comedies by
Mm-hmm.
any stretch. Um, not my favorite Eddie Murphy comedy. It's not my favorite buddy comedy. But it's fine. It's got some moments.
Yeah,
Um,
lacking on the buddy part because they don't really team up until last 15.
yeah.
I would say even further in than that. It felt
Well, I mean, they're teamed up when they get on the train. So it's
okay.
everything like from right before the train through the end of the movie, which it's about the second half of the movie, maybe. Um,
Okay.
First you got to get them down. So here's what happens in this movie. Anybody who hadn't seen it. Um, Dan Aykroyd is a rich options trader, and he works at a fancy options trading house, Duke Brothers or Dukes and Dukes or um, the Duke Boys. I don't know, something. They're Dukes. Randolph and Mortimer Duke. They fight like Andy for sure in this movie. Um, uh, and he makes them a shit ton of money by being able to correctly predict the futures options on different items. I don't remember what at the beginning of the movie.
Commodities.
Yeah, at the beginning of the movie, there's one thing that he advises them on. It's
Pork
not
belly.
the orange pork belly at the beginning of the movie. That's what it is. And they listen to him and they hold out and they hold out and they hold out until the price gets to be what he says it's going to be, and then they sell and they make an extra $300,000. Mortimer. They're very excited about all of their money.
I would be too.
Yeah, and you know how they keep their money? They give $5 Christmas bonuses between the two of them to the guy who works in their club who may now go to see a movie by
Which
himself.
I don't know what hurts more about that line now. The fact that he only got $5 or the fact that he could go see a movie with $5.
That is what movies cost when I was in high school. So even then, that's what's nuts about. All right, time for my what movies cost rant. Everybody,
All right.
this is going to be an edict. Here's the thing: from the time that movies were invented, in like 1920, whatever, in the teens, the price went from $0 because they didn't exist to $5 in 1994. Like that's what it cost to go to a movie when I was in high school. Now this isn't true in New York. This is true in Southern Indiana. But from 1994 to now, it's like $18 a movie. But then that's a ridiculous amount to jump in 30 years when you look at the previous 70. But it's worse than that because it went from $5 in 1994 to like $12 in 2005. Like in 10 years, it more than doubled. And then it almost doubled again. So I rage at that it used to cost me $5 to go to the movies. And I just couldn't, I just knew I was being gouged by the Dukes. They're out there. You know what they are? They are both of them, the hot shot at the bun company and the hot shot at the wiener company, trying to screw the American people.
Yes, they are.
And so that's what they do. They're making all this money. And then Dan Aykroyd leaves to go home and bumps into Billy Ray, Eddie Murphy. And is immediately, because Eddie Murphy's black, he's like, oh, you tried to rob me, and is afraid that he's going to be shot. And Eddie Murphy's just trying to give him back Billy Ray's trying to give him back the suitcase.
Yeah.
And then the police show up, the ones who were just hassling him for pretending to have no legs and be blind. And he runs into the place, and the cops chase him, and it's a whole situation, and they catch him. And Lewis, Dan Aykroyd, is like, throw him in prison. People like that should have the book thrown at them. How will they learn, et cetera, rich man talk. And so that's what happens to him. And then the Duke boys, they start talking, and they've been having this debate, as rich people do. uh, basically nature versus nurture. You know, are
Yes.
you are you successful because of your heredity, because of like just who you are innately, or is it because of your surroundings? And they come up with a wager to fuck with two people's lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, they go and get Billy Ray out of jail and give him Lewis's job, thinking, you know, if you flip them in their places and it's just about it's not about your innate being, then they'll both do the same things. Like
Mm-hmm.
Billy Ray will succeed and Lewis will sink into a life of crime and desperation. Um, and the other brother is like, no, he's good at this and he was not, and that's going to be how it works. Um, and then they fire Lewis, get him arrested on some drug charges, well, some embezzlement, and does he get charged with drugs? It's very
I'm sure
confusing
he
the number of
does.
things they throw at him.
I know.
And then his wife leaves him, and uh, he goes into the crapper, and Billy Ray goes into the penthouse, and turns out Billy Ray's good at this.
Yeah.
You know, and so he makes them money not on pork bellies but on something else.
Corn?
Yes,
I think it was
I
corn.
think it was corn. I think you're right. um and but he figures out, because he overhears them talking loudly about their plans, that all of this was a bet. And Lewis, they basically, whichever one of them was like, uh they'll end up they'll just swap places and they'll act the same. It's not about who you are, it's about what you've basically the money you've got, the opportunities you have. He wins.
Mm-hmm.
And they bet $1. So they ruin these two poor sons of bitches lives for $1. And which, you know, it's 20% of the holiday bonus they gave that other guy. So I mean, it's a good amount of money. And but then Billy Ray and Lewis get together, and Billy Ray tells him what's been going on, and they concoct a scheme that is far too complicated for either one of us to understand without the help of NPR in 2013.
Yeah, when you explained it and thinking back to it now, I'm just like, there's a reason I had to drop out of my econ class in college.
Yeah, you don't think this way.
I do not.
I don't think this way either.
Unfortunately, I would
Yeah, this
be
is
a
how you
lot
make
richer. Yeah.
money. This is how you make money, by like coming up with some bullshit and getting other people to do it.
Now, that being said, if someone happens to hear this and wants to fuck with someone on Broadway and bring in little me, sure.
Okay, so that's my first note about this movie is capitalism can suck a dick until the underdog wins.
I mean, it's true, because we hope the underdog is going to change things, even though it gives us no hint at that. I mean, they both get money in the end.
Yeah, they end up rich on the boat, and Mortimer and Randolph end up dirt poor until coming to America, where Eddie Murphy gives them money, and then they're rich again.
We're back.
I didn't catch that at all, because I'd never really seen this movie. I had no idea that it was the same characters. But yeah, that's quite the gag.
I don't know how Walter remembered it, because he had never seen Trading Places. He has seen Coming to America only with me. Like, it's just selective memory.
Yeah, the things that stick. Who knows?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so like you spend this whole movie, at least watching it now, thinking, well, this system fucking sucks. Like, this is a system where for $1, these two people can destroy the lives of two other people and not commit a crime.
There's so many other hobbies you could have.
Yeah, but like the fact that they're able to, that just because they have money, they can just jack people up, is abhorrent.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly how capitalism works. Yeah. And then you find yourself rooting for these guys to get over on the Duke boys, and in the end, they're exactly the same as they were. They're just trading places. You see what they did there with the name of the movie?
Is that not Hollywood in a nutshell? Like, we'll put these progressive stories out there. We'll make everyone believe that this is, the open-minded progressive mecca we want it to be. Mm-hmm. But then at the end of the day, the bottom line is money.
The almighty dollar. That's right.
I love money a lot. Mm-hmm.
What's that from?
That's Merrily We Roll Along.
Oh, I don't know it. I mean, I don't have it memorized.
You haven't had multiple people in a theater class sing, what's his name? Franklin Shepherd Inc.?
No, that hasn't happened to me.
That's so... God, our lives are so different.
I know. In some ways, Marge, you and I are very different people. So one of the things that this made me think of while watching this, and the disgustingness of the capitalist system that we live under that allows the Duke boys to do this, is the Denzel curve.
Oh.
It made me think exactly about how he created a scarcity market by only allowing 2 A's, and then just pitting everyone against each other, Lord of the Flies style, to get those 2 A's. And a couple people are just going to get 2 F's, and he didn't give a shit. He didn't even make $1 on it. So
go ahead.
No.
Oh, I was just going to say, because speaking of pitting people against each other, I had the thought of, and I think I mentioned this too, like, why do men still put up with each other? Because, they pit women against other women to keep us down, and same with other dudes. But they really should be more worried about the other dudes, because, like, look at this movie, for example. They're just messing with other dudes because men are the only ones in the room, but also they're like, the women will take care of themselves.
Yeah. I don't know. There's not a tendency among men, generally speaking, to hold on to that shit.
True.
And so you just kind of move on. And, and that, like, I think what happens with the guys in this movie is that Billy Ray, faster than Lewis, understand who the actual enemy is, right? It's not each other. And that's the other thing that the Denzel curve does, right? It's like, you should be mad at Denzel for creating the curve. You shouldn't be mad at each other for all trying to get the tiny little sliver at the top end of it. But in this, Billy Ray realizes that Lewis isn't the problem. It's these 2 assholes. Because they're gonna flip it back. He's gonna end up on the street again in 10 minutes, because they're definitely not gonna let one of those actually say the N-word movies take over our company.
Yeah.
And so he knows where this is headed. He knows who the real villain is, and it's not Lewis. Even though Lewis got him arrested earlier, it's not really his fault. Like, Lewis him. Yes. Oh, 100%. And but they realize that they shouldn't be angry with each other, which is not what you hope happens when a movie becomes famous and popular and significant in the culture. When the movie tells you that capitalism is the bad guy, that maybe people pay attention.
That would be nice.
That would have been cool, because that's not what we do. We've yet to figure out that the system is the problem, so we fight each other for money.
Uplift is not our strongest suit.
No, and I don't want to rise up.
When you live in nope, gotta stop singing. My God, I'm gonna get us in trouble.
That's right. Someone's gonna come get us.
I think rising up against capitalism is not a terrible idea.
Yeah, but we haven't done it yet. I mean, you know how much the cost of movies has increased since this movie came out, and we still haven't risen up against capitalism?
I mean, I ask Walter that all the time because, he's lived here longer than me. I'm like, how has there not been an uprising against MTA prices? Because they're nuts, and
Mm,
you're not exactly getting what you pay for.
right. Yeah. Well,
You
you get a
know,
ride somewhere sometimes.
you know, you hopefully survive to see your borough again.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not getting on the train unless, well, that's not true. I keep forgetting how big the boroughs are here, but either way.
Oh, yeah. Um, so I think one of the things about this movie, because I kind of liked it. Again, I don't think it's all that funny, but
No.
for two really funny people, it's doesn't really make me laugh all that much. Um, but the conceit of it is fun, and it's good to see them stick it to the Duke boys at the end.
Those Duke
You
boys
know,
again.
that's right. I love it. A Hot Pursuit. I love it. Come on, Flash. The my absolute favorite, and I don't think it's in commission anymore. Slot machine, not slot machine. Yeah, slot machine in Vegas is a Dukes of Hazzard slot machine, and uh, like they have run little clips of Boss Hog yelling about stuff. Um, so like when you win, Boss Hog goes, "How much money did they get?" And then Boss Hog will say, "That is a considerable amount."
Oh my.
Yeah, I love the Dukes of Hazzard slot machine. It's so dumb. Pursuit. I love it. I love it.
I
Same name.
saw,
Everybody knows your name.
God. I saw Tom Walpat in a touring production of Chicago.
Yeah, was it terrible?
It wasn't great, but I would take watching him over him weirdly, like, I don't want to say hitting on me and my friend walking by. He just did the typical like, "Hey ladies, how are you today?" And
Oh,
the
no,
voice was enough. We were like, "No, not from you, Tom Wopat."
Tom Wopat wanted that.
As he's signing autographs too, he's like, "Hello." I just remember that tone.
Oh, I did not know we were going to be talking about Tom Wopat heat on this.
There's no heat. We were not interested. That was not. He's not my. Yeah, he's not on the daddy list.
No, yeah, I wouldn't have much to do with Tom Wopat and John Snyder. I don't think out in the real world.
No.
And the Dukes of Hazzard is a thing with the flag and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I grew up loving that show, and it's so dumb. And it's,
I think a lot of people did. You
Yeah.
know?
And they were making their way the only way they know how, and that was just a little bit more than the law would allow. And because the system was trying to keep them down, right? They were underneath the hand of Boss Hogg, who had the entire might of the United States government, at least that of Hazzard County, that he could bring down upon them. They're the underdogs. That's why we loved them, right? Because they're fighting the system like two modern day Robin Hoods. Yeehaw. And that's what Lewis and Billy Ray are trying to do here. They're trying to fight the system. See, I brought it back around. You didn't think I could.
Wow.
You didn't think I could do it. You didn't think I could do it, but I did it.
I mean, I didn't have time to doubt you.
Oh, because I was just there. Boom! Firing in all cylinders like the General Lee.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah. So speaking of stealing things like the Duke boys would, or at least the way they'd be accused of it, they were just some good old boys, never meaning no harm.
My God, I have never seen this show, and I'm getting such an education about it.
Oh, I'm just repeating to you the lyrics of the theme song.
No, I know. Like, I know enough about it, and that's it. And I can figure from your cadence what is part of a song.
Yeah, all I know is that if Daisy Duke had tried to talk to me the way that Luke Duke tried to talk to you, it would have ended very differently. Because she could have talked me into anything, Daisy Duke.
It would have ended differently for us too.
Yeah, I'm saying Daisy Duke, my lord, Daisy Duke. So But this uh, theft and breaking the law actually plays a large role in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like when they bring like first Billy Ray gets accused of thievery when all he did was bump into Lewis, and then when they bring him into the house, that whole scene where he's just literally pocketing everything in the room.
Oh my god, that was great.
Yeah, and they're like, you're just stealing from yourself, like, which is awesome. And then when Lewis comes into the big fancy party later and starts stealing everything, including an entire salmon.
Hey, that felt relatable because
Yeah,
Walter and I are always trying to take more snacks from work. Like, I get to be background for a shoot tomorrow.
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be raiding that craft services table.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care that
That's
we
what it's
just
all
went to the
about.
grocery store. Like,
Nope, get it. You know what people used to do here when I was in my 20s? I only did this once, I think. But this was a thing here in Chicago that I assume is a thing you can probably pull off in New York too. On Friday evenings, sometimes Saturday evenings, at smaller art galleries, there are always events. There's an artist, whatever, and there's always free food being passed around those things. So I knew lots of people because we were poor and we were 22 or whatever. Would go to openings, to gallery openings on Friday night, and you would get a little bit of free booze and you get some free cheese and crackers and shit. I mean, they worked that system. They had a calendar.
that's
Um,
brilliant.
yeah,
I
I don't know
wouldn't
that
look into
anyone.
that.
I think you should. I don't know that anyone stole an entire salmon and then later ate it on a bus, but
Certainly not in that grodiest of Santa Claus outfits. My
that was the
God.
nastiest Santa ever. Maybe
I think the characters on Times Square have cleaner costumes than that Santa costume.
that was foul what he was wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of the big thievery in the movie, which was the heist for the briefcase with the crop report in it?
Seemed a little too complicated.
Didn't it just?
Like, I don't know if they were padding the script or if they were desperately trying to find more bits to make it funny.
Right.
But it was
It
kind of unnecessary.
It was very unnecessary. There was no reason that any of them had to play an ethnic character of any sort.
Or an animal.
Well, okay.
Definitely didn't need to play another race. My God. Like, he came in and we went, oh,
I know, that was rough. The blackface moment was like, oh, and he's like Jamaican or something. And she was, what was she, Swedish?
Swedish.
Even though I read because it was all because she couldn't do the Austrian accent. Like she just couldn't, Jamie Lee Curtis couldn't do it.
Wow.
So they left her in that costume and made her Swedish. And then Selsden, darling, what was he, Irish or something? Like he had an accent.
Yeah, he did.
So like, yeah, I don't know why literally everyone had to be like from a different country. But
yeah,
I guess that's how you go undercover. You just choose an accent.
Do it on Charlie's Angels.
Well, God bless Aaron Spelling. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that like a good train heist is super fun to watch. And there are ways to do it where it's like convoluted and complicated and full of misdirection. This was just this was overly complicated to have 5 people come into the same room to swap out the briefcase twice.
Yeah, it did not make sense. Yeah,
but
really...
it was way easier to understand than the actual mechanics of the swindle at the end where they tricked them and got all their money. But it was I mean, I liked it. I liked the idea at the heart of it, which is like, we're gonna set them up and we got to do a plan. Like I love me a good plan. And let's just stick it in the middle here and let's do it. And
I feel like all the characters wanted a job and there wasn't a need, but Billy Ray just
Yeah.
said, "Okay, fine. You can play this. Yes, you can be Swedish.
Right.
I
Yeah. I just.
guess you can be Jamaican."
Do you have to put on the blackface? Yeah, it was a little rough. But yeah, so all of which is to say that all of the characters in this movie just do the same things, no matter who they are or what socioeconomic ladder they're on. They're
Mm-hmm.
all constantly stealing from people. They're constantly trying to like set the system up in their favor. And like they've got the whole you know that thing that happens in superhero movies, like in Batman movies, whatever. The "we're not so different, you and I."
Is that from Batman?
I mean, they do that. That's in everything.
Okay, I
Every
was like,
time there's a super. I mean, the Joker and and Batman all the time, but you'll notice it in like any kind of good guy bad guy dynamic thing where they finally square off with one another,
mm-hmm.
and they have the "why are you doing this? I'm going to stop you" scene. There's always a "we're not so different, you and I" kind of vibe to it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what this is all the way through. You know, it's that the poor black guy is no different than the rich white guy. It's just circumstances. The two guys who are on the bottom are no different than the two guys who are on the top, because when they flip, circumstances. Like it's
Yeah.
everyone in the movie is the same as everybody else, just playing with a different set of like powers. You
Yeah.
know? So I don't know. It works. It's fun.
Sure.
You know.
It's fine.
I,
If it's on TBS when I'm at my parents', I might turn it on.
I might turn it on, but I won't. I probably won't go back to it on purpose.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, guess what I need to watch tonight? Mortimer and Randolph.
No.
Adventures in Intimacy.
Yes. This one had me thinking a lot about the use of color when picking women's undergarments.
Really interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because so we get a scene between Lewis and I think it's actually his fiance. I don't think they're married yet.
Oh yeah, I think so. Penelope or whatever.
Wrong. I watched this scene by accident multiple times. Um anyway, so, one, the ease of disrobing suggests that they've been doing this more than once, even though she's supposed to be like this pure thing. I mean, she's in all white, her skivvies and dress, headband, everything's white. We get it. You really want people to think you're pure.
That's right.
But since it's all a facade, I think it would have been more interesting to have her in like a different color of underwear to give us a hint that she's. I mean, one, she's already going against her family's wishes or something and having premarital sex with this guy. But then also the ease with which she leaves him later suggests maybe ulterior motives. Whereas with they went for the obvious colors, is what I'm trying to say. Like with Jamie Lee Curtis too, she's wearing black.
Or nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing.
Nothing at all. And granted, her character is certainly not innocent. I feel like black is still the extreme and like kind of boring choice.
Yeah.
And that's a small thing overall, but those things matter, like it just adds a fun little layer, literally and figuratively.
Hitchcock does it on purpose in Psycho.
Well, you can't see color in that movie.
Black and white you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. The start of the movie, we meet the main character and she's having an affair. She's having a nooner. And she's getting dressed and she's wearing white. And then later, after she has committed a crime, you see her getting undressed and her underwear is black.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah, he does it on purpose. He uses it to indicate that she's changed in some way because she committed this crime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting concept.
Yeah.
color.
Um.
Um. Oh, and of course, I was thinking about. I wrote down history of showing boobs,
Mm-hmm.
and we've talked before about, you know, the surplus of boobs in
Yes.
80s movies.
Yes.
Um,
Extraneous boobage.
extraneous boobage without any context. It's just
Right.
like in this one, especially at the party, they're just like, yeah. It's like, I get it, they're at a party and they're drunk and high or whatever, but I'm like, they, I don't know. I think people, maybe I just haven't been invited to those parties. I don't know. But I also think they think, women from the lower caste system are just,
Yeah.
willy-nilly.
There's a Jeff Foxworthy bit in one of his early stand-ups where he's talking about being at a party, and he's like, whenever you're at a party, the woman who is dancing by herself earliest in the night, that top's coming off. And then like the bit goes on and on and on, and the police come later, and he's like, and the police showed up. Put your shirt on, Peggy.
Yeah.
So yeah, same idea. Yep, they were dancing by themselves. That shirt had to come off.
So yeah, so I was re-listening to the episode You Must Remember This about like the start of the 80s and the porno chic and all of that and where that came from, because I guess the 80s is when they got the new rating system, or was it in the 70s?
Which of the new rating systems?
So because they had been G and then M, but that got changed to PG, and then there was R, and then there was X, and X was never supposed to mean like,
yeah, that was like in the 60s and 70s. Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting that it took them well into the 80s for directors to be like, let's really throw caution to the wind and just, I mean, again, we have, I'm quoting her episode now, like we have movies like The Last Tango in Paris and Deep Throat, like that kind of walked so the others could run, but
it's an actual porn movie.
No, I know. But that it's still interesting that this started in the 60s and then the 80s just was like wild with it. But I do agree with her analysis that it feels like a negative response to the women's lib movement.
Yeah.
At least in Jamie Lee Curtis's scenes, hers, it feels like part of the character. There's motivation in what she's doing, and there's power. Like everyone else, it just kind of feels like, all right, so here's where you're going to take your top off and you're going to like be on, be flirting with him on the bed. You two, you're going to be topless this whole time and be dancing. Like it looked like she really put thought into it, and that like there was really character motivation behind it.
Yeah, she was in control of those situations. Like, not just from the standpoint of like being in control of like what she's showing. She's the power dynamic between her and Lewis is she's in charge.
Yeah,
because he's a mess and knows what's going on.
It was a lot more interesting to watch. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's have you seen Scream?
No.
Okay. There's a whole thing in Scream about how in horror movies, like the one thing, and it's not just in Scream, but this specific conversation part of it is in Scream, where like sex leads to death in horror movies, like their morality plays. And so he was talking about like the topless women in horror movies in the 70s, Friday the 13th and Halloween and whatever. And someone mentioned Jamie Lee Curtis, and I believe the line was, not the whole line. The end of the line was, Jamie Lee did not show tit until she went legit. Trading Places, 1983. She was not topless in any of the horror movies. It wasn't until she went into a mainstream movie that she got naked.
Yeah.
So, which is like the total upending of the trope. You know, it's like the beauty queen. You know, there's so many boobs in those movies, which I know you don't watch horror movies, so
no.
But it wouldn't surprise you to learn that there were boobs in these movies. I know, clutch those pearls.
But yeah, so a story like that, you know, is hopeful, because I think there's still that feeling today amongst actresses that, you know, the more willing you are, your body is just a prop. It's not your own.
Mm-hmm.
You should be willing to do anything and everything. It's fine. It's not.
Yes.
It's why I ache when actors tell me, like, I'm fine with anything. I'll just do whatever.
Right.
I need you to give me the number or email of who hurt you. I will talk to them later. We will deal with that. Just kidding. That's not part of my job, and nor would it ever be. But still.
Yeah. Fight people like Annie.
Taking down these asshole directors one by one.
That's right. One by one. Anything else in Adventures in Intimacy?
No. I had more than I thought I would for this.
Alrighty. So, Needle Drop Forest, I need to ask you a question. When you were growing up, did your parents ever use doo-wop to mock you? Because mine did.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and in this episode, there's a song by the Silhouettes that I know all too well called Get a Job.
Oh, no.
Sha-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na, ba-doo. Yeah, and it wasn't just Get a Job. I was played Get a Job pointedly, but when I was younger, I was also played Yakety Yak, Don't Talk Back.
Oh yeah, my dad would sing that.
Yep, and then I also got played at me the song You Talk Too Much.
Wow.
Yeah, that one hurt my feelings a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I got fussed at with doo-wop.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's if they could have figured out a way to insult me using the song Charlie Brown, they would have done that too.
See, the only song I really clocked in this was Sylvester's Do You Want to Funk?
Oh.
One, yay disco. But then two, a podcast that I listen to frequently for LGBTQ news that they cover, they would play this song beforehand.
Nice.
So I get excited every time I hear it. I'm like, oh, am I going to hear Rod and Karen?
You should every time. That's what I think.
Do you wanna funk? Do my Axel Foley dance.
It's an audio medium.
Well,
neither one of us.
YouTube.
I know. Neither one of us is saying a word. We're just wiggling.
Leave it in.
Oh, hell yeah. All right. What else time? Was this anyone's defining role?
I should think not.
I don't think so. It's definitely not Eddie Murphy or Dan Aykroyd's. I don't know what else Ralph Bellamy's been in.
Pretty Woman.
Okay, that's right. And obviously both of them in Coming to America. And Don, I mean, I know the name Don Amici, but nothing like jumps to mind with like who he is.
Same.
Denholm Elliott is either Brody or Selsden to me. So it's not this guy. And no, Jamie Lee Curtis, definitely not.
Is Sausage Fingers.
She's definitely that. Yeah, I know. I mean, for me, still Laurie Strode. You know, it's the Halloween movies.
Yeah, definitely. Which I've seen one of those.
Oh, there you go. The first one or some random one in the middle?
The first one, and it was enough.
Yeah. Like, well, if you don't like scary movies.
Nope.
Is the answer to this is no. This is not John Landis's defining moment either. Are you familiar with the work of John Landis as a director?
Not by name, but I bet if you listed his stuff, I'd know.
There are a number of things that yes, 100% you know. And I'm gonna go. I gotta go back to. Got to do the scroll down. So he did. Not his first movie, but one of his early movies is Animal House.
Oh, I have not seen that.
Yeah, but you know what it is.
I do.
Yeah. The Blues Brothers.
Oh, yes.
American Werewolf in London.
Nope.
This.
Yes.
Then Twilight Zone, the movie.
Nope.
But you've heard of it.
Actually, no, I didn't know there was a Twilight Zone movie.
Ooh, it's interesting. There's a whole thing behind it too. He only did like some of it, but how about this? Thriller?
Wait, the music video?
Yeah, he directed Thriller. Yep. He directed the movie Spies Like Us and the Paul McCartney music video that went along with it.
Oh.
Yeah. He directed Three Amigos.
I have seen that once.
Coming to America.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Jackson's video Black or White. The one where he grabs his crotch and beats on the car a lot.
Oh.
It's got George Wendt and Macaulay Culkin in it.
No, I don't think I've seen that one.
It's a pretty interesting video. Yeah, I mean, he did a lot in the 80s. And he has this thing that he does in it's like a running gag in his work. It's not in everything he's done, but it's in enough things. It's the phrase "see you next Wednesday." Did you pick that up in this movie?
I did not.
In this movie, it is a movie poster behind Jamie Lee Curtis in her apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And in other movies, it's a different movie poster with different actors about a different thing, but it's called "See You Next Wednesday." In the Thriller music video, at the beginning when they're at the movies watching the werewolf picture,
mm-hmm.
one of the police officers is like, and scrawled in blood, it said, "See you next Wednesday." And you only hear it as like a voiceover, but it's like this thing that he uses in all of his movies. And I caught it in this one. I was like, hey, there it is.
What is strange? The Leo point.
Yeah, I did the Leo point.
What a weird thing. Is there any reason why?
I don't know. Let's see.
It's on Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. Here, let's see.
Other than the Vine.
Let's see what happens here. All right. Here's what it says on IMDb. The phrase "see you next Wednesday." Supposedly the phrase is the title of a film that Landis had an idea for at the age of 15. That's very prognosis negative. Do you know what that is?
Nope.
It was a screenplay that Larry David had written, and couldn't get it made. And so there was an episode of Seinfeld where they were trying to go to the movies, and the name of the movie they wanted to go see was Prognosis Negative. So like whenever like George would hit the buzzer and Jerry would buzz him up, he goes, "Prognosis Negative." So like they say the name of this thing he wrote like 1,000,000 times in this episode.
Got it.
All right. So an idea at the age of 15. It's a direct reference to a line in 2001. He describes the film as the kind of movie that a 15-year-old adolescent boy would have made.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it shows up in a lot of stuff that he did, like almost every movie. So not almost, but a lot of things. And so I was excited to Leo point to that in this movie.
I don't even know how you begin to notice those things. Like, I feel like I'm a fan of things, and then I learn about like Easter eggs and shit, and I'm like, I guess I'm not a fan because I never catch this.
I mean, the thing in Thriller, I heard, like, because I saw that music video, I don't know, a million times. Like it was on constantly. And it was a big fucking deal when that music video hit. Like I remember we didn't have MTV. And once we did have MTV, we weren't allowed to watch MTV because it's bad.
Oh.
I watched it. Spoilers. But this Thriller video was coming out and everybody knew about it. Like it was news. It was stuff parents knew about. And we were over at my my great aunt and uncle on my dad's side, Adele and Reds. We were at their house. And we were doing something, but we knew that Thriller was going to world premiere at like whatever time it was going to be, like 8:00.
Uh-huh.
And we went in and turned, I don't think it was the world premiere, but they would advertise when they were going to show it because they knew everyone wanted to watch it. So they would say, we're going to show Thriller at 8:04 tonight or whatever. And so we knew it was going to be on and we all gathered around and watched it.
Wow.
Like it was crazy. It was appointment television, this music video.
Like the moon landing.
Yeah. Yeah. Moonwalk landing. Boom! Nailed it. So, but I saw this video like a bajillion times. And I always thought that that line in the movie, "See you next Wednesday," was real weird. Like,
yeah.
Like, what does that even mean? And then, I don't know, somewhere along the way, it was pointed out to me that was a thing that Landis did. But this is the first time I've seen it on my own. Like, knowing it was a thing, but yeah, just, wait, that's the thing. So, I was very excited about it.
I did think of something that I am obsessed with enough that I, like, find connections here and there, and it's exciting to me. Sondheim, because anytime you listen to any of his musicals, it's really exciting to find, like, that same chord is used at this moment in Sweeney Todd as this moment, like, but different meanings. It's interesting.
Oh yeah, that is cool. I thought you were going to say like that you like will pick up on those like phrases from a Sondheim song it being used in something else. You know, like you hear it and go, "Oh, fuck, they're just talking about that." You know,
I'm sure there are references, but no, I'm thinking of like notes or.
Gotcha.
I wish I'd been better at music theory because I know there's a proper term for all of these things, but you know, there are thematic chords, I would say, that are used throughout, or just like a variation on I want to say triad.
Okay.
I don't know.
Say it. Say triad, motherfucker.
Yeah. I don't know if that's correct. And I
don't care. It is now. Making it up. You know what's great is I probably know 30 people who could explain that to me.
Yeah.
You know, just because I lived in Reed at IU.
Yeah.
I live with a lot of music majors. I know a lot of people who could explain all that shit to me if I needed to know it.
It was so much harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Like most things. I still have my book from it, and I have, delusions that I'm going to try to relearn it and all that. No. I've been out of college since 2012. I have not looked at that.
Not yet.
That's true. Not yet.
That's what I'm saying. Do you have any what else's?
I do not.
Okay. What is your EST for this?
I feel like this is the most gaslighty film.
Okay.
Like, I mean, the way they just kick Lewis out of his house and then are like, nope, that's not your house anymore. And then put Billy Ray in it. Yes, this is your house. All of this is yours. It's strange.
It's very strange. You just convince people of shit.
Yeah, like it's, and then I feel like too. I mean, I feel like you have to gaslight people into believing that you know what number to close something on.
Yeah, I mean that's some made up bullshit. Is what
It is like all money.
I'll just do guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a total guess.
That's why we're money allegory.
Yes, it is. Do I have an EST for this thing? The least buddy movie ever?
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're just because they're not really. You know, like I get the desire to put Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd in a movie together.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by John Landis, who did, who did the Blues Brothers with Dan Aykroyd, and has connected to the Saturday Night Live like company, and
Yeah.
Aykroyd had some hits,
Yeah.
and Eddie Murphy had 48 Hours, which was a hit, like a big hit. So I mean, it's not bad, and people loved it. Like there's, I would say probably people who are 5 to 10 years older than me. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
right in their wheelhouse. This is one of those movies that came out and latched on. You know,
Yeah.
um, not me quite so much, but it's fine.
Yeah, do you think their chemistry was lacking?
No, I just don't. I don't think the movie had a whole lot of jokes. You
Yeah.
know? Like it's not as um. There's not a lot of banter. Which is where you would get a lot of that kind of joke in a two funny people movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and neither one of them is going into rooms and playing a character like Fletch or Axel Foley or
Yeah.
any other. Um, so and then that kind of movie isn't really one that Dan Aykroyd ever did. Like his stuff was all character studies.
Yeah.
Like Blues Brothers that's not a jokes movie.
No.
It's a movie about these two guys, and
It
it's a
does make
movie
me laugh
about
though.
it's funny, yeah, and it's got great music.
Mm-hmm.
And Ghostbusters is that's about Ray being who Ray is. Like he's not telling jokes, you know. So, um, I mean, Driving Miss Daisy's hilarious. No, just joking. Dan he plays her grandson or something.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of those random ones where Dan, like in Pearl Harbor, where like, hey, there's Dan Aykroyd just being a serious character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. All right, I think that once again we have proven my theory that everything comes back to Aaron Spelling, even trading places.
Places.
So next week, Cheesemeisters, as we get deeper and deeper by one episode into season 3, I think we're gonna watch Barefoot in the Park.
Yay!
Which is a movie I've probably seen less than you have, would be my guess. Or have you seen the play?
I'm now wondering, because I've read it
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen clips of it. Have I seen the whole movie? I don't know.
I've seen it once.
This might be like the splendor in the grass of it all, where I think, except I've read this play and I know it. They do a play within a play on Dawson's Creek, and they perform this at school. Pacey's in it.
There you go.
Oh, and Ember has made
How many cum waterfalls are in it?
Oh my god, none.
No. None that you remember.
That's true. Oh my god, when they're in the park in the beginning, maybe there's one.
Maybe there's one. We'll have to find out. So, anywho, join us for that, Cheesemeisters. It will certainly be a raucous affair.
Indeed.
Yep. Until then, cheers.